Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, April 30, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let's just take a look at the video that we posted on the last day in March about what the weather would have been like for the month of April. And we saw that we were looking at the CFS, that's the climate forecast system. And we saw that Jamaica was embedded in some slight shades of greens that represent at least up to a half an inch or up to an inch of rainfall above normal rainfall across sections of the island. And I guess we could say it verified in a sense, even though it showed more of that rainfall across western Jamaica, and they were definitely dying for some amount of rainfall recently. So I guess we could say, in a way, yes, we got that slightly above normal rainfall, but more so across sections of especially Portland and St. Mary than anything else. So yes, the rainfall, in a way, was received, but not across the areas that were predicted to receive it. As it relates to what the CFS is showing for the month of May, we see something different now. We see Jamaica embedded in even more greens that represent above normal rainfall, as we can see by the key on the right, even getting up to the darker shades of greens that represent up to 4 inches of rainfall. So that is a bit concerning in a way. If that actually verifies, we see more of those greens up towards the southwest of the island. Who knows, we might be receiving that rainfall already right now in the form of this trough, because there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come tomorrow into the first week of May. So it could definitely be this rainfall that we're already experiencing that's expected to linger, all courtesy of these numerous troughs. But do we see consensus with what the other models are showing? This map is from the CANSIPs, and it is showing something different. We see more so yellows across portions of Jamaica. We know the yellows represent below normal rainfall, as we can see by the key on the right. So we don't see the consensus that we would normally look for when we're looking at these maps. But what about the NMME model? Something in a sense to what the CFS was showing, some greens that represent rainfall. So I guess we could say this is the consensus. So the CFS, the NMME, not so much the CANSIPs. Hopefully the CANSIPs gets on board soon, because we definitely need the rain across sections of the island, even although some areas are getting the rainfall that don't want the rainfall, like Portland with all of the land slippages recently, with all of that northeasterly flow and relief rainfall. Either way, even the CARICOF, that's the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, is showing their forecast for the next 3 months, May, June, and July 2024. And we see the blues that represent rainfall. And where do we see it? Across sections of the northeastern portion of South America, the Eastern Caribbean, especially the Leeward Islands, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, sections of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, even section of Belize in there as well. And even Jamaica. But look at Jamaica. Jamaica is not really getting those darker shades of blues that represent even more rainfall totals like the rest of the Caribbean. But we're indeed grateful that we're in the mix. We're definitely going to be getting above normal rainfall. And we actually see a flip now when we take a look at August, September, and October. We see those darker shades of blues that represent even the high end of the scale in terms of a rainfall right there. Even section of the ABC Islands, that's quite concerning. Look at that area across Trinidad and Tobago below normal rainfall. That's a bit strange. Even Belize right there. We'll see exactly what unfolds. We know these forecast maps from the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum are not set in stone. They are bound to change. As a matter of fact, I believe there is something else being shown around the end of March for April, May, and June, if I'm not mistaken. So we just have to take these forecast maps with a grain of salt, because they are not actually, perfect. As it relates to the rainfall forecast now, we're gonna be looking at the Euro and the GFS supercomputer models for the next 168 hours. That's actually the next 7 days. So we're doing this because the US National Hurricane Center usually goes out to 7 days. So we're gonna be doing the same thing, and we're going to be looking at this area right here where we see Jamaica, and we're going to be watching the forecast time and the date as well. So let us put these maps into motion. So let's go. We are actually taking a look. So Wednesday we see greens that represent rainfall. Thursday something similar. Friday, Saturday some amount of greens that represent rainfall. Sunday, next week Monday May 6 going out. Tuesday May 7. Then that's the end of the 7 days, 168 hours. The next 7 days would be up to 18th on Tuesdays. That's actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And that is what we see on the GFS map in terms of the rainfall forecast. We actually see that it's gonna be starting out wet, so it actually makes sense with what we just saw on the climate maps with the monthly forecast. So the CFS actually making sense, the NMME models actually making sense. But do we have the consensus? This was from the GFS. Do we have the consensus on the Euro model? Let us go out in time to see. So we see the greens that represent rainfall, definitely going to be affecting the island Tuesday into Wednesday. Thursday going out to Friday, we still see the greens. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we're about to be at the end of the 168 hours, and we see that yes, we have the greens that represent rainfall, definitely going to be plaguing sections of the island of Jamaica, intersections of the South Central Caribbean Sea, and we're indeed grateful if all of this actually verifies. We can also see the accumulated precipitation forecast maps. The precipitation forecast maps are showing the rainfall totals from now up until 7 a.m. on Tuesday. That's on the Euro. The GFS showing up until 1 p.m. on Tuesday. Either way, we see the consensus on both maps that especially sections of the Greater Antilles, including Jamaica, we're going to be receiving above normal rainfall. We see all of this represented by what we see on the key on the right. The blues up into the purples, even some burgundy colors there, that represent anywhere from an inch of rainfall up to 2 to 3 to even 4 inches of rainfall, getting even up to at least 7 inches of rainfall in those spots where we see those burgundies, the Dominican Republic especially. Either way, we're indeed grateful that we're seeing rainfall. Hopefully it's nothing too ridiculous to cause some tremendous flooding, because we can't manage the flooding, especially in the flood prone areas, not to mention across Haiti, where they are extremely vulnerable. Alright, so let us focus our attention on the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. As usual, we have those ridges of high pressure, one right here to the east of Florida, another right here off the northwest coast of Africa, responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. As usual, we have that westerly flow of wind to the north of the ridges of high pressure. We can see a trough right here across the northern portion of the main development region. There are multiple troughs plaguing sections of the Greater Antilles, which explains the cloud cover that we're about to see on the visible satellite images, even although they're not being shown here on the surface map. So here they are right here. All of these clouds, they are not tropical waves. There are definitely a lot of low-level clouds being pushed from east to west, as we can see in that flow of wind from the ridge of high pressure. We can also see the wind flow aloft, the upper level winds pushing from west southwest to east northeast with those high cold cloud tops. Either way, we're seeing that we're having rainfall, especially across the northern Caribbean. So the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Cuba getting in on the action as well. And there's a lot more rainfall to come associated with these troughs because they're definitely lingering across the area. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, April 30, 2024. It was stated that we would have received some morning rainfall across sections of eastern Jamaica, and it would have affected sections of central and western parishes during Tuesday afternoon. And just for your information, we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex. So St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as 7:40 a.m., posts were being made. First post on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica, other posts being made on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that we don't make here on our YouTube platform that you can't afford to miss. So we saw the Cuban Doppler radar images being posted, and of course we have to be using the Cuban Doppler radar because the Jamaican radar has been down for quite the longest while now. Hopefully they get it sorted out as soon as possible. But we do see the greens that we can see right here across sections of Portland and St. Thomas that we know represent light to moderate rainfall by what we see on the key on the right. So that indeed confirms the morning rainfall that was predicted for eastern Jamaica. As we progress throughout the day, at 11:46 a.m., we saw that we had the visible satellite image being posted, showing clouds bringing some overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of some northern parishes in Jamaica. So it actually started early again today. So sections of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne were starting to get in on some of the action. Western Portland, St. Mary as well. Then as the day progressed, it only got even more intense. This is the post from 12:55 p.m. highlighting clouds, bringing overcast skies, and even some isolated thunder shower activity to those very areas. We see the sparkling yellow dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, and that was mainly across sections of northern Jamaica. So sections of Trelawney, St. Anne, sections of St. Mary, Western Portland, sections of St. James and Hanover got in on some of the action as well, and we even saw some of that coming in from the east as well to affect sections of eastern Portland and St. Thomas. Then by 2:35 p.m. another post was made highlighting the infrared satellite images. We know the infrared satellite images actually show the high code cloud tops associated with these cumulonimbus clouds, and we see the blues, the greens, the yellows, the oranges that represent that thunderstorm activity, not to mention the sparkling white dots that also indicate some lightning flashes, if not lightning strikes. And we saw that especially across northeastern St. Elizabeth and Manchester right there, definitely getting in on some thunderstorm activity at that point. And then taking a look at the last post that was made at 4:01 p.m. Even although we're still getting some rainfall across sections of the island as we speak, just because this is the last post that was made doesn't mean that nothing is happening right now. So we see that the visible satellite images were posted, and they were actually showing the prediction that was made. So rainfall across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes, more so northern Jamaica than anything else, because there are still some areas along the south coast that didn't get in on much rainfall. Southern Clarendon, sections of St. Catherine, sections of Kingston and St. Andrew did not receive that rainfall. But definitely we saw that rainfall across sections of St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, sections of Northern Clarendon, sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James, and Trelawney. So we definitely had that rainfall in some areas more than others. And if we actually take a look at the comments that came in to confirm the rainfall, we had Braille Patton stating rain in Central M, that stands for Manchester. Even on our Facebook page we have the comment coming in. Everton Ford, rain in St. Thomas, rain in Blue Mountain, I believe he's trying to spell there. Even on our Instagram page we had the comments coming in. Marshmallow 433 stating finally rain in Ochi. Born underscore fighter underscore store stating rain in Mobe. And even if we take a look at this one right here, we can see Marlon underscore Ford stating rain a tear in Louis St. Anne. And Sunflower underscore groceries underscore and underscore more stating some good rain and wind in Montego Bay. 876X, my friend there from Manchester, stating raining in Manchester. Definitely getting some decent rain even as we speak at this hour. I'm sure they're still getting rainfall. Let me see, what time is it? It's 7:45 p.m. and they are definitely still getting rainfall. We'll soon take a look at the latest visible and infrared satellite images. So _Ryan stating raining in Hanover exactly 4:30 as mischief done. Then over here we have Caroline _Tamara_Lewis stating raining heavily in Maypen, liking it. Miss Nut 71 stating West End Negril getting it good. Lisa _Shreddy stating raining cats and dogs in Mobe. Love is a beautiful thing stating raining heavily in Ingleside, Mandeville. And Lotus _Flower 876 stating flooding in Mandeville. So that indeed confirms what was predicted. Section of the island definitely getting in on that rainfall. The latest visible satellite images here before the sun went down still showing that we had that cloud cover across section of the island, more so across sections of some northern and western parishes than anything else right there, with the south coast being void, especially across St. Catherine and Kingston and St. Andrew, of any cloud cover or rainfall. But what about the latest infrared satellite images now? What do we see? We actually see that we still have some amount of clouds bring overcast skies and rainfall to sections of the island, so much areas are not going to be seeing any star, or if there's going to be a moon out tonight, we won't be seeing any moon maybe until like midnight or later on. Either way, we see the sparkling red dots, we see the thunderstorm activity that took place across the island today, and it was more so confined to sections of some central, western and northern parishes in Jamaica. And even if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we see, yes, we saw those clouds across sections of the island, but we don't know where it was actually raining. This is why the Doppler radar is needed. We see that rainfall as we speak across sections of Portland, St. Thomas, that huge rain band coming into section of Manchester right now, some heavy rainfall, southern St. Elizabeth as well, and even sections of some northern parishes still getting in on some rainfall. So sections of Trelawney, St. Anne, St. James still getting in on some rainfall, even sections of the coast of Negril getting in on some amount of rainfall right there. We see everything that we see on the key on the right, the light to moderate to heavy rainfall definitely plaguing sections of the island tonight. And the thing with these troughs is that we could definitely get in on some more rainfall tonight into tomorrow, causing some flash flooding, or it could be something else. We might wake up to dry conditions. That's the thing about these troughs, they are very unpredictable at times. Either way, the accumulated precipitation map from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website confirms the rainfall that we saw today. We saw most of it across sections of some northern parishes in Jamaica. Section of St. Thomas definitely got on some of the action, and definitely across sections of Manchester as well. So that indeed confirms what we saw on the satellite images. The Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology can be accurate at times, sometimes not necessarily accurate at all. Either way, we'll work with this map because it does paint a picture of where we got that rainfall today. As it relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18D on Wednesday. When you calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and we see Jamaica embedded in more so some gray colors, some slight yellows that represent at least 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures. So we see the grays, we see the slight yellows, average to slightly above average temperatures are in the forecast. And if you guys remember, for the month of April across Jamaica, we had what was, I believe, 88 degrees Fahrenheit for the monthly temperature, or for the average temperatures across the Jamaica area. But what is the, what's being predicted here? For the month of May, we usually receive up to 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When we actually calculate that now, that's up to 31 degrees Celsius. So the temperatures are actually getting warmer as we head into the summer months, June, July, especially August. So we see at least a 1 degree Celsius rise in temperatures. So with the temperature expected to be at least 1 degree Celsius above normal tomorrow, we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 32 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Wednesday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see that there's a lot of dry air across the Caribbean, but we have a mixture with those blues that represent moist air, and we're indeed grateful for that. All of this blue that represent moist air is definitely what's responsible for the increase in rainfall that we're experiencing, and we're indeed grateful. We want the rainfall. We don't want all the dry air. We don't want the lack of rainfall. We'll take the rainfall. It's better to have rainfall than none at all, even although sometimes it is too much, especially for some persons. But in this case, where we're actually coming out of a drought because of the dry season, I guess we can take it. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on, well, this map is actually showing the wrong time frame. Today is Tuesday. Let me see if I can find the right time frame. So we're going out to Wednesday at 2 p.m. Alright, so we have it here. And what do we see in the forecast for the Saharan dust? We see that Jamaica should be in the clear. Jamaica is right here under the word port, stands for Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Because all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across the main development region, especially that area closer to Africa. We have those darker shades of browns that indicate that vigorous plume that causes hazy skies and triggers some amount of respiratory illnesses in some people. So we're indeed grateful that we're going to be in the clear tomorrow. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that by the key on the bottom right, both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus that most of the western side of the island are going to be receiving those lighter shades of blues. More so the eastern side or the eastern half of the island are going to be receiving those darker shades of blues. The key is basically showing the lighter shades of blues are where we're going to be receiving those 0 to 0.5 meter wave heights, while the darker shades of blues 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the east, as you can see by both the Euro and the GFS malls. Winds definitely blowing from the east on the north and on the south, more so from the east southeast on the south coast, maybe to pile up some of that air across second of northern Jamaica again with most afternoon rainfall. And we also see those bluish greens and those brighter shades of greens that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents, let's say, 5 to 10 knots, maybe even gusting to 15 to 20 knots in some spots. And the upper level winds should be coming in from the west-northwest again across the island. Something similar to what we saw today with the upper level winds coming in from the west. So we saw those high cold cloud tops being blown off towards the east southeast. So we might just get more of that rainfall activity across not only some northern parishes but some southern parishes as well. So we're definitely grateful for what is to come, and the 1 hour total rainfall maps confirm this. Look at what both the Euro and the GFS malls are showing. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 5 a.m. Jamaica time. And what do we see? We see the blues that represent rainfall surrounding the island, especially on the Euro map where we see those greens. We see a lot of rainfall in the forecast. And the thing about these troughs, I repeat, these troughs can be very unpredictable. We might wake up to see it flooding out sections of the island. We might even wake up to see clear skies and sunny weather. We just have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt. Let us just let it be known that there's a trough in the area. We might experience trough-like conditions, which could be some rainfall that could trigger flash flooding, some rainfall that could cause gusty winds and deteriorating sea conditions. But the thing about these troughs, they are unpredictable. So we might even just wake up to sunny weather, just like what we got this morning. Skipping ahead to about 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time, we still see much of the blues that represent rainfall, especially across the eastern portion of the island, so section of St. Thomas, Portland. We see the consensus, especially on the GFS Mall. You are a bit more robust, showing up the greens and the yellows and the oranges. That's some ridiculous rainfall if that actually takes place, or if that actually comes on shore across St. Thomas or Portland. And then, skipping ahead now to about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time, look at where we see the rainfall across those very areas, especially in northern Jamaica on the GFS right there with those darker shades of blues. So Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary. The blues are representing rainfall definitely extending across eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. You are a bit more robust to the rainfall forecast. Then by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 5 p.m. Jamaica time, we see that we still have some lingering showers across the island. Even by 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's actually 10 p.m. Jamaica time, we still see some rainfall. So I guess we could say that it's definitely going to be somewhat of a rainy day tomorrow. We'll see exactly what unfolds. We just have to take these troughs with a grain of salt. It could happen. Let's see exactly what unfolds. We'll see how it goes, and I'll be keeping you all updated on my other social media platforms. Either way, both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus with the rainfall totals. As usual, the Euro is a bit more robust. Euro showing those darker shades in there that represent up to 1.72 up to 1.75, almost 2 inches of rainfall in total expected from now until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. Not saying that it's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these areas are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. GFS, not so robust at all, showing the rates that represent up to 1 inch of rainfall, up to 1.01 right there across sections of the northwest, 1.03 across the southeast. We'll see how that goes. We just have to, take these forecast maps with a grain of salt. Either way, both of them are in consensus that it's going to be raining across sections of the island within the next 24 hours, and we're indeed grateful. We're stepping into the month of May. This is our secondary rainy season. Our primary rainy season, we know, is from September into October. So we usually receive up to 213 millimeters of rainfall during this month. We know 1 inch of rainfall is at least 25 millimeters of rainfall. So if you do the math, you'll know exactly how many inches this is. Well, that's usually expected during the month of May. Keep in mind that this is just the average, and this is valid for 1996 to 2015. We'll see exactly what unfolds, especially with climate change. These things are forever changing, and at least we're going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall to start out the month of May. Considering that we're coming out of a drought, I'm sure that most persons are indeed grateful. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some low-level clouds pushing from east to west across the Caribbean associated with these troughs. You can see some activity across northern South America as usual. And if we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images to confirm what we're seeing on the visible satellite images for today, if we take a look at the Leeward Islands, we can see that we're definitely getting in on some amount of rainfall as we speak across sections of eastern, especially southeastern Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands getting in on some amount of rainfall with those greens and yellows. You can also see some pockets of rainfall right there affecting sections of Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe as well. And if we even take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see where we have some amount of rainfall plaguing the areas around Barbados. Not much across, especially northern Barbados at all, but we did see that rainfall that pushed across the southern half of the island from east to west, and there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come. We see that rainfall to the east and northeast of the island. Some of this rainfall to the north of Tobago, heading into Tobago as we speak. Some of this passing through the Grenada, the Grenadines, and St. Vincent as well. But what about the wider view of Doppler radar images? We can see that rainfall across sections of southern Florida, Cuba as well, sections of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, Guatemala getting in on the action. The rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of Puerto Rico and the Eastern Caribbean. You can also see some rainfall if we look to the south across sections of Colombia and even the border of Suriname and French Guyana right there. Even sections of northwestern Venezuela getting in on the action as we speak. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Wednesday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And we see that majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on those yellows. We're starting to increase the temperatures again. The yellows that we can see by the key on the red, that represent 1 degree Celsius, going up to even at least 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we see even some reds in there, especially across northern South America and Central America, not to mention sections of the Central and Eastern United States right there. If we take a look at what is being forecasted for the Saharan dust, 2 p.m. on Wednesday shows that majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be plaguing maybe sections of Suriname, French Guyana, especially the waters right there to the east of those countries. So the main development region, especially that area, Dakar, where we see those darker shades of browns that we know are definitely going to be causing some hazy skies, maybe even triggering some asthmatic conditions in some people. So we're indeed grateful that majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear for 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Are these images going to load? We're trying to look at the wave forecast for tomorrow. Alright, so here they are. Both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus. Let's see if we can get Wednesday. Alright, Wednesday here. Alright, so they're definitely in consensus that we're going to be seeing those lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues across the Caribbean. More so those lighter shades of blues across the western portion of the Caribbean, the darker shades of blues across the eastern Caribbean. And we can see by the key on the bottom right, the lighter shades of blues represents anywhere from 0 to 0.5 for meter wave heights. Darker shades of blues 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights as well. And that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all. Let's see if we can reload these. Alright, so here we go. Winds should be coming in from the east for the most part across the Caribbean. And we see those bluish greens and those brighter shades of greens that represent anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 knots, gusting to 20 knots in some spots, maybe even 25 knots, where we see these yellows, especially across the northern Caribbean. Those areas are definitely going to be plagued by the trough as well. So definitely some gusty winds, especially in the vicinity of showers and thunderstorm activity. So section of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, San Juan, even spilling some of that into sections of Jamaica, are definitely going to be in for some strong easterly winds. As it relates to the rainfall forecast now, this is the meat of the matter. And we're actually seeing that both maps are showing where we're going to be receiving all the rainfall within the next 24 hours from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. And we do see the rainfall, as we can see by the key on the right, being represented anywhere from green up to the red, even some purples in there. So definitely some tremendous rainfall in the forecast for section of the Bahamas, where we see those purples. We can see those yellows, oranges and reds for sections of the Turks and Caicos, sections of Cuba, Jamaica, sections of Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Croix, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, sections of majority of the northeastern Caribbean or the northern Caribbean in general. Not much across the eastern Caribbean at all. Maybe some isolated shores across Guadeloupe and Dominica. We can also see some of that rainfall into sections of northern South America, so French Guyana, sections of Suriname, Guyana as well, sections of southern and western Venezuela, sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, even sections of Belize, southwestern Honduras, El Salvador and Guatemala too. And we know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.